Hello everyone and welcome back to the EDH Jank Center, your source for everything Commander and everything Jank. I'm your host Jordan or Prairies, and today we got another mini deck tech for you. This is a little series I've started recently inspired by all the amazing commanders from Dominaria United, where I take the commander that I'm interested in and I choose 5 cards that are either janky, underutilized, great for a budget, or just super interesting and fun and synergize really well, and I talk about them. So without further ado, let's get into it. The star of today's mini deck tech is Stangg, Echo Warrior, 2 red-green legendary creature, human warrior from Dominaria United. Whenever Stangg Echo Warrior attacks, create Stangg Twin, a legendary 3/4 red and green human warrior creature token. It enters the battlefield tapped and attacking. For each aura and equipment attached to Stangg, create a token that's a copy of it attached to Stangg Twin. Sacrifice all tokens created this way at the beginning of the next end step, and he's a 3/4. For returning viewers to the channel, you might recognize this guy. He was also featured in another video I did. You can watch that right here. I did cover a couple of cards in that, but I want to go even more in depth today. Aside from being an absolute daddy, the design of this card is also very, very daddy. Because not only does it specialize in enchantment and equipment ETBs, it also cares about them going to the graveyard, and that is where we have all the fun. Well, I mean, who am I kidding though? ETBs are fun, sacrificing things is fun. Let's just get into it, come on. Speaking of ETBs, our first creature up is Nylea's Colossus, 6 and a green enchantment creature giant from Commander 2018. It has Constellation. Whenever Nylea's Colossus or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, double target creature's power and toughness until end of turn. And he's a 6/6. So this card is literally clinically insane in Stangg. Put in simple terms, if there are 5 auras attached to Stangg, that means the token copy that comes in will also have 5 auras coming in as well. That'll equal 5 doubling triggers off of Nylea's Colossus. Little simple math here for you. If you take 3 and double it 5 times, you get 96. That means Stangg would have 96 power, and you could just freaking one-shot all your... Anyways, you get the picture. Let's move on. Next up is something with another sweet ETB ability. It's Eidolon of Blossoms, 2 green enchantment creature spirit from Journey into Nyx. It also has Constellation. Whenever Eidolon of Blossoms or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. And she's a 2/2. You know it, you love it, you've seen it in almost every Enchantress build that includes green ever in your entire life. And it is so synonymous with Enchantress builds because it is such an incredible value engine. Stangg is just another great place to stick this card into, and I couldn't be happier. Take my example from earlier. If we have 5 auras attached to Stangg, we attack, we do the whole thing, we bring in the token and then all the token copies. If there's 5 of them, we draw 5 cards off of that. That's literally incredible. If we already have Eidolon of Blossoms out, we've had it out for a couple turns, we've been building up Stangg, all we have to do is swing out and we can draw 5+ cards, you know, however many are attached to him, obviously. But that's incredible. Amazing value. Go get this card before it increases even more in price. And I know, the past few cards have been up there in price, but I'm living up to the EDH Jank Center name starting now with Elephant Guide, 2 and a green enchant creature from Judgment. Enchanted creature gets +3/+3. When enchanted creature is put into a graveyard, put a 3/3 green elephant creature token into play. So before we get into any shenanigans with this card, it's just a 3 mana +3/+3 buff. That's pretty solid already for a Voltron strategy. On top of that, it's only 25 cents, so, you know, Jank Center. But lastly and most importantly, this is where we start making use of those dying triggers. So if you keep this original Elephant Guide attached to the original Stangg, every time you attack with the original Stangg, when the token copy comes in, this will come in and then get sacrificed, and you will get a 3/3 green elephant, and before you know it, honestly, you'll probably have an army of elephants and a very handsome man. And I'm sure many people would agree that that sounds like a pretty dope scenario. All right, next up on the docket, we've got Reckless Fireweaver, 1 and a red creature human artificer from Kaladesh. Whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, Reckless Fireweaver deals 1 damage to each opponent, and it's a 1/3. Little fact about me, I will put group slug in basically anything I can, and so this was a perfect excuse to slot this into this deck. Again, super simple, but when we have 5 equipment attached to Stangg, the OG Stangg that is, when our token copy comes in with all the copies of those equipment, that's going to trigger our Reckless Fireweaver, and we'll be dishing out, in this example, 5 damage to each of our opponents. And listen, the lower the life totals, the easier it is for an aggro deck like this to win. And also props to this artist. This artwork is just incredible, and the reason you can tell that people love this artwork is that the foil version of this, which I'm probably sure has very sparkly and shiny fire waves, is $10. $10, as opposed to the original being only 58 cents. Look at me, you might as well just call me the EDH Finance Center instead. Just kidding, don't ever call me that. Dang, and we're already at the last card of the day, guys, but before we get into it, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Any and all support helps me out. Also, comment down below what your favorite selections for a Stangg deck would be. I'm always down in the comment section interacting with everyone, so come on down and have a chat with me. And without further ado, we got fangrand marauder last. 5 and a green creature beast from Mirrodin Besieged. Whenever an artifact is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you may gain 5 life, and it's a 5/5. So right off the bat, I'm getting lots and lots of Ben 10 vibes from this artwork, but more importantly, this cares about artifacts going into the graveyard. And guess what, folks? Tokens hit the graveyard before disappearing. So we get all the triggers off of our sacrificed equipment tokens, as well as, and this is the crazy part, treasure tokens. With the ubiquity of treasure synergies in our format now, this card almost becomes an auto-include in any deck that runs green, I think. So to rehash our example from before, if we have 5 equipment on the original Stangg, we bring in the token, those tokens die at end of combat. Pow, we're gaining... my brain just had a little hiccup. We're gaining 25 life off of those death triggers, folks. And in an aggro strategy, this is so valuable for us because we're going to be vulnerable to attacks on the crackback from our opponents. We're not in colors that really enable us to pillow forward or do anything like that. So any and all help we can get in that department, I'm taking. Fangrand Marauder is a great example of that. And just like that, guys, we're at the very end of the video. Thank you so much for sticking around. And if you really enjoyed the content, consider supporting the Patreon. The link is in the description. I have lots of really cool benefits for patrons. I have a patron-only Discord where we organize spell table games and chat about our favorite cards. That's a lot of fun. I also do monthly polls where I ask my patrons what videos they want to see from me next. So you could choose Stangg, for example, if you want a full deck tech of him in the future. Speaking of the future, I'll see you then, and thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you on the next video.